Hey guys, what's going on? This is Matt again for having a yak. How's it going? It's been a while, but there's a reason, and I will be talking about that in just a sec. So, let's go, guys. Let's have a yak. Alright. Now, I have been absent for a while, but there is a good reason. This is a see you later, but not a goodbye episode. You are still going to be able to hear all the episodes from Having a Yak and all the rest of it, but just different tunes. Different show, but same page. There is going to be a massive improvement. I'm actually going to get myself a co-host and actually a brand new show. We are going to be talking about all sorts of bloody shit. We are going to be debating about certain things. We're going to be challenging each other on certain statements and all sorts of shit. We're going to be doing all fucking sorts. It's going to be one of those type of shows where you just talk shit, shoot the shit about anything you want. We're going to be playing some bloody, very interesting games like Are You the Arsehole or Who is the Arsehole, green light, red light type shit. We're going to be doing all sorts of shit, and it's going to be pretty fucking good. And also too, it's just going to be one of those episodes where it's definitely going to be one of those things where I reckon when it comes to it, it's going to be really exciting. It's going to be a new thing. It's going to be a whole new setup, a new page, a new everything. There's just a new music. There's new outro music, new intro music, different types of music. But it's one of those things where it's literally one of those things where it's time for a change, and it's with someone who I really, really care about and really admire and that type of thing. And I reckon she will be able to put in a pretty good fucking episode for us. Well, episodes, I should really say, because she's going to be my co-host. And we've made up our own show. We're no longer having a yak. It is actually Psycho Bush Talk. That is actually going to be the new episodes or the new show, and it's going to be literally talking about anything and everything, like on here as well, but it's going to be a lot more not politically correct, if that makes any sense. It's basically going to be the nitty and gritty and fucking raw stuff that I have been doing lately, but in a bit more of a out there type way. And it will be good to have some different opinions on different matters on here as well. I reckon it's going to be really refreshing, and it's also going to be good to have someone on here all the time to actually make this podcast a lot better. So if you see me on here and all the rest of it, and you see a different name, it's okay. It is Psycho Bush Talk. So Psycho, a little line thing, Bush, and Talk. It's as simple as that. But I will be releasing all things about it. So we're going to be introducing ourselves again, refreshing the whole thing with new music and new everything, and it's going to be one of those things. But I just want to say too that we have had some very interesting episodes on here. Like, we have had so many different people on here. It's not funny. I've had my mum on here. I've had my good mate on here. I've had a couple other blokes on here. It's been really good. And what I want to do today is basically just like I'm literally got my whole line of episodes on standby right now on my computer. And I'm just going to flick through every single episode and just talk about it. So what I'm actually going to do, I'm going to go and get it now. And we're going to go through having a yak. And then I'm going to talk to you guys because this is going to be a decent size episode. I just basically want to talk about it and just talk about the ideas I had and basically more or less just basically just to have an idea on what the idea was, or what the plan was when it came to this podcast. And the whole thing is that I had this idea in my head that I wanted to do something that was going to be good. I wanted to, because I've been hearing about all the shit about, basically about this podcast stuff. And that was the whole thing. I just wanted to do something that was interesting and something that was new. And basically what I wanted to do is just fucking whatever, I basically just wanted to do something that, it's hard to say. Just basically just wanted to do something that I wanted to do in my own way. And basically it was just something that I wanted to do to express myself and express what I was thinking and all that type of stuff. I was able to get all the stuff through actually talking about different things. And did I ever talk about different things? Oh, fucking oath I did. But anyway, let's have a look at some episodes here. Let's first start when I first started. This is unreal, this episode. I had no idea what the fuck I was doing when I first started it. And anyway, here we go. This is my first tune. Yeah, guys, how are you? Matt the Big Bear Redwoods here. Welcome to my podcast. On this, mate, we talk about all sorts of topics. From footy, fishing, beers, all kinds. So come and join me, mate. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the bloody show. Let's have a yak, shall we? Now, this was my first ever episode. Hello. How's it doing, mate? This is my introduction. Yes, this is my introduction, mate, and how you doing? Like I said in the intro, it's the same bloody voice, isn't it? I am Matt the Big Bear Redwoods, and I'm going to explain. Now, I got no idea why I started doing this shit. I got no idea why I started fucking talking about, or actually saying that I'm Matt the Big Bear Redwoods. I had no idea what the fuck I was doing with this. And yeah, it's just funny. Like I said, nearly 3 times now, I think, facing the TV and recording it, and it would sound so bloody shit. It would sound crap, mate. And he read the Wendigo. Now, whatever like that. That was basically me just introducing myself. But then I had some real interesting things on here, like real interesting interviews and real different people that I was actually talking to. Like I had my good mate Andrew on here, and we were literally talking about all sorts of stuff. Right, let's have a look at this episode. G'day guys, what's going on? Welcome to my podcast. Here, mate, we talk about all kinds of bloody topics, from fishing, beers. Also, too, I get some very interesting people on here just to see what their point of view is and what's going on, and just have a good old yak. This is Having a Yak podcast, mate, with me, your host, and well, this is a way back, right? And this is with my mate Andrew and my mother And the whole episode of this one was just talking about shit. This is just chatting about all sorts. I think this was around when COVID-19 was around, but it wasn't too bad. We were actually able to get to the city because I live in country Victoria. And we were just basically just talking shit. Now, but from now, we've set up the equipment and then pretty loud.
Jesus.
Anyway, as you can hear, I've actually got me two guests on here, Andrew and Mum. What's going on, guys?
Nah, not much.
Not a lot.
Not a lot. Now, we're actually not recording this at my place. We are recording this at Andrew's place in Melbourne.
Might want to the voice a bit.
Really? Why?
Because you're shouting.
So? Nah, she's right. Yeah, so
she was shouting that
doing this in
time.
Werribee. And finally at Andrew's place. Because everything's been... So what do you think... what do you think the government should do now when it comes to these third stages? And what do you reckon will happen if...
I think what they're doing is pretty good.
Second wave happens.
Yeah. I think we got to stop talking about a second wave. I think, the more you talk about it, the more, I just feel like you've just got to, if it happens, it happens, but to keep talking about it and constantly bringing it up is just, people out there are suffering with mental issues and they don't need to keep having it thrown down their throat.
Not really.
We've had 6 months of it.
That was true, guys.
Try and get on with life a little bit.
The way they were raving on at that stage, this was back in...
See how we go.
Basically, when the times were actually starting to get open up a bit more, and they were literally trying to. Basically, people just had enough at this point, and they were basically saying, come on, we have to get this fucking shit open. We got to get this shit moving. But this was Victoria. Now, Victoria was one of the most locked down states in Australia, and it was one of the harshest laws in the nation. And so it was one of those things where we just had enough, especially the blokes in the city. They just had enough, and we had enough in the country too. We had some leeway, but we had it tough too. But the blokes in the cities and that, they had it real tough. It was shocking for them. Morrison has now said that he wants a date.
Yep.
He wants a date. That's it.
Towards the end of July, I think.
Yeah.
Or June.
I think regarding the second wave, I feel like it's got to be said that the only way it's going to happen is if we do it deliberately now.
Yeah.
Because with all the knowledge and of all the restrictions we've got in place, and all the new knowledge of it, and of how low it is in the community, only way it could happen is if we're trying to do it. I don't think it can really kick up again, but...
Yeah.
If everybody keeps doing what we're doing and be very responsible for their own actions,
that's me,
it'll
Mum.
be a lot better. Be good. Because it's proven that keep the old 1.5.
Which
we are doing.
We are doing, but not everyone's doing either.
No. But apart from that, and Melbourne Storm won.
And you must have to know that the Raiders also bet you guys last week. It's not experts, but we got to listen to people with reasonable opinion, and we got to ignore the media because I think they've controlled.
Oh, the fucking media. Holy fucking shit, guys. The media, when it came to the COVID-19 here in Victoria, were just ridiculous. They were always throwing shit down. They were always... Basically, they were just always fucking making sure that everyone was scared. Everyone was just fucking frightened of what they were doing, and they were just making sure that everyone just had a heart attack, basically, and just making sure everyone was scared shitless. And yeah, it wasn't good. Wasn't good at all.
A lot of what's going on.
Yeah.
The media, especially at the start, they really just keep going on and on about it. But basically, it was just what the medical people said: wash your hands.
Well, the thing is, too, right? They did control a lot of the shit. I
wasn't a fan of them before this, though.
I'll go back on P&O.
Yeah, P&O, not fucking. What's the other one? That was the main one.
Princess
and Carnival. But let's move on, guys. Let's move on to another one. that I did. Now, I also had some very interesting guests. I had this one guest, his name was John. Now, this bloke, he knew what he was talking about, but this is around the time when there was an issue with the exports with China and that type of stuff. This was pretty hectic what he was saying there too.
China, as much as we have been, their economy is different to ours. We have a product that they need, but they turn around and say that because they think that we've been dumping stuff on them and we've been doing little shoddy tricks and shoddy deals with them, that they can put an 80% tariff on one of our largest exporting products is barley, Yeah, I reckon they can do that, but we put an 80% tariff on our iron ore, which must admit to everybody is that it kept flowing while all this shit was on. China kept trading while all this was on. This COVID-19 was a purpose-released biological weapon for China to gain more control of the world, I feel.
And see, that's the thing too. He had this theory that this was a biological weapon, but it was just one of those things. But he knew what he was talking about. He was a very smart man. He really was. He was a great mate to talk to. He was a great person to have on the podcast and that type of thing, and just basically talking about all sorts of stuff. From exports, China and that type of stuff, but yeah.
And, like they're complaining about our beef. Well, don't buy it. We're not, they'll starve us out. They have done since August last year, really. It's been the worst year for quite many years, really. The forest industry's sort of really struggled, like there's trucks parked up everywhere where I live.
Yeah.
The chip pile's huge and it's not moving. It's, like it was the same with the logs as well. They stacked up and nothing moved for weeks. It was really hard. Your income, like I was down to sometimes 19 hours a week,
Yeah.
but not claiming the dole.
Yeah.
So it sort of gets hard, I'm not.
So what he was actually he was a logger, truck driver. He was a log driver, and that's what he was talking about. He was only 19 hours a week driving the logs.
Not one to really rely on the dole sort of thing or social Centrelink or whatever you want to call it. But now the government's opened up the floodgates. Yeah, I'm getting some entitlements out of what they say I can have because I've paid a lot of tax over my life.
Yeah. Well, so you should.
Yeah, and I'm just really disappointed that a lot of our profit that we should be making us taxpayers has gone to overseas investors. I think that's a very, very, very poor decision by our government that was supposedly elected by the people. Well,
so that was one. That was one instance of John. I had another episode with him, and it was basically him saying what Australia needs to hear. And what should be happening.
The government of today and yesterday can't handle the truth. They can't speak it and they can't listen to it.
Yeah.
And the truth is that we don't need to be reliant on China.
No.
We never were in the 50s and the 60s. Even into the 70s we weren't. I remember our dealings with China starting in around about 77, 78. A Prime Minister by the name of Malcolm Fraser.
Yep.
Who sacked a Labor Prime Minister, Gough Whitlam, because he held a white Australian policy.
Yep.
Now, that policy was foresight of the time, but could we imagine if that policy was still current now? Where would we be? We would be up with solitary nations like America, Russia, England, Germany, France, that, they have their own industries there. They're self-sufficient in a lot of ways, where we've sold all our industries off. We've sold our self-sufficiencies off. We don't know how to think for ourselves anymore. We're believing leaders that are supposed to be elected by the people. Well, I didn't vote for this business with China.
No.
I certainly didn't agree with all our eggs being put in China's basket, because now look what's happened.
So that was one episode that I had on there with him. And he was basically just explaining everything, what Australia was and what Australia should be. But it was just one of those things. But anyway, moving on. Because I've got a lot of episodes I've got to get through. Like there was one episode I done here with me, and I was talking about mental health and what should be done. I've done a lot of like the end of the year of 2020, the best parts of the year. That was a very interesting episode. That one. That was basically all the episodes I'd done with in the 2020 era, and that was a real nasty time, especially here in Victoria, because that's when the start of COVID-19 happened, the bushfires. It was a lot of shit that was actually happening around that stage. And with the way it was, and with the way shit was going, it wasn't necessarily a good place for anyone to be in when it came to around this time, because 2020 and 2021, that was in 2019, I suppose, was a real testing time. And it didn't really end until probably 22, properly 23 last year. It didn't really properly stop and settle down until probably about 23 last year. Yeah, the start of 23. That's when started really, or kind of started getting back into normal ways. But the whole thing is that when it came to COVID-19, it never really got to a newer stage. It got to a stage where it really, in some ways, it became in somewhat a stage where we literally had to look at ourselves and say, right, what's more important, and what's really, in some ways, what is the important thing about what we do and what we have. That's what really, in some ways, that is what makes me think about what we had and what we actually took for granted. 2019 to 2022 was, like I said, one of the real testing times where we really had to think about what the fuck we took granted for, and what the fuck what we had and what we had to do, and basically just say thanks for what we did have and be appreciative of what we did have. It was just one of those things. It really was. And the stories that would come out of that time is going to be very interesting. I can't not see people making movies out of this. I can't not see people making TV shows out of this, out of what happened with COVID-19. But when it comes to stories, I had a really important person come on my podcast, I suppose, and that was my mum. And this is her talking about her story. Okay, guys, much more of this shit's actually going to continue or not?
Yeah, this should continue for at least 2 or 3 months. It's about as big as one pub, one service station, used to be one fish and chip shop, one post office, and a hardware store, of course, and a butcher. That was it.
Yeah.
So we were brought up on a dairy farm, and by the time I was about 7, used to have to go down to the dairy every night to wash out the yard.
Yeah.
And used to get 20 cents a week.
20 cents.
Yeah. So back in the 70s, early 70s, that was big money.
Yeah.
So that was pretty good.
Mm. Yeah, this is me dear old mum. She was born in northern Victoria, in a little town called Gumbow. She was raised on a dairy farm up there, and she was born in Echuca, I'm pretty sure. It was either Echuca or Kuna, one of the other ones, or Kahuna for other people. Yeah, this episode was basically her just telling about her story and about her life. People, but this is primary school, we call it here.
Yeah. To year 11. I don't know what they call that in other places, but up to year 11.
I think it's senior.
Senior year.
Seniors.
Yeah. And I was told I didn't really want to go back to school to do year 11. I wanted to do something else. But
what was that?
I wanted to do nursing. But that never happened because apparently I wasn't fit enough in those days.
Oh, yes, I remember you telling me that an old nurse bloke told you, oh, no, don't worry about doing nursing because you're too fat or something. Or
yeah, I was too fat.
Yeah.
And she actually said that to me. She said, you're too fat to do nursing, but she couldn't fit in a chair. But anyway, that's another story.
Yeah.
But my father said to me, he said, oh, well, you can either go to school or you stay home and milk cows. And I said, righto, well, I'll go to school, bugger the cows, because you're always on a farm. As I said, you had to come home from school.
Milk cows.
And go straight down to the dairy when you got old enough to do it and milk the cows. And when my brother and my dad used to do hay contracting in the summertime, that was for our holidays, as everyone has heard the holidays and that.
Yep.
We used to save the money up that way.
Or vacation, rather. Or vacation.
To be able to go on holidays. So while they were doing that, Mum and I had to milk the cows all the time. So
now, when she talks about her mum, she's talking about one of the nicest people you'd ever come across, but one of the most country you'd ever come across, and that was my nana. And when it comes to Nana, yeah, what you got was what you got with Nana. She was a crack up. She was an absolute crack up. And there was one episode that I'd done with her and Mum, because I was up north. I was over at her place up in Gumbow, and she was very interested in talking about this type of stuff. She loved talking about this type of stuff. And the whole thing is that she just loved it. She loved talking. She loved talking about the old days. She loved talking about all that type of stuff. So I decided to take my equipment up there. Now, I'm going to play the second episode, because the first episode went for over 2.5 hours. But this is just basically, I'll give you a bit of an idea.
they said, do you want a slow one?
A slow one or a fast one?
Fast one. He said, I'll have a slow one.
No, at night at the Esperance, then we
That's my old Nana.
decided we go out to the whaling station.
Yeah.
That was very, very interesting.
Yeah.
And the people said, I'll come back tomorrow morning at 4:30 to see the whales getting killed.
Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause back then they were actually still coming back then.
They were
weren't
doing it for the oil.
Yeah, doing
Yeah.
it for the oil. Come out.
And you had to listen to the radio station to see how many they got.
Yeah, anyway, we had to
Jesus.
listen to there, and then we went out there at 4:30, and we were seeing how they killed them all.
Yeah.
And, they're massive whales, massive.
Yeah.
Anyway,
And the
then we
smell.
come back home and had breakfast, and we just went for a drive around Esperance. It was a very, very pretty place, Albany.
It is nice down
And
there.
Esperance, and we went back up to Perth then,
Yeah.
up to Harvey.
Yeah.
Went out to the big cattle station.
Yep.
And seen all the beautiful cattle, Frisians, cattle, dairy farms and all the rest of it.
Yep.
Then we went up to Perth and stopped there and went up to the Anzac Lookout
Yeah.
and Kings Park.
Yeah.
And seen all that, and then we decided we'd go over to Rocknest Island
Oh, yeah.
by boat. We went over there.
Is it the Quackers?
The Crockers, we'd seen a beautiful... at the time, there's no cars over there on that island.
Still no cars.
Only push bikes.
Still
Jesus,
no
really?
cars allowed on there.
Yeah, only push...
unfortunately, my nana passed away last year. Yeah. It's always good to have these episodes because you can hear her voice, and I'm so fucking happy that, and so fucking honoured that I was able to hear her say her story. And that will be forever in my heart, these episodes, especially these ones. Because I get to hear her voice and because I get to hear her story. And her memory will always be alive because of it. And the stories that what we nana and what we pop and what my uncle and my mother and that done when they were younger. And, yeah. She's been gone for over a year now, and it's just one of those things, mate. One of those things where you got to take every moment that you can and hold your nana and pop dear. Never take it for granted, mate. If you're listening to this right now and you got nana and pop around, go and spend more time with them, eh? And because that they will love it. That they might get annoyed and that type of thing, but they'll love it. And take your phone, take whatever you need to record audio, and just talk to them. Record their story, because that's the generation we need to remember. Back in the days when it was more simpler. But, yeah. I miss her very much. I really do. But yeah, I had a lot of different episodes on here. I was talking about myths of Australia and that type of stuff, and I was talking about how when it came to, basically talking about just how it was and how some Australia was this and the myths that everyone else has got about big giant spiders, the drop bears and that type of stuff, and koalas and the big snakes and that type of stuff, and the yowies and that type of stuff. Been a lot of stuff. Been a lot of stuff. And then the other thing that I was doing too was I made an episode, because I love me whiskey and me scotch. I decided to make an episode full about whiskey, everything about whiskey. And for a long time. And that is considered as a proper Scotch. You can't call it. The whiskey shifted to the General Public after King Henry VIII of England dissolved the monasteries and making a large number of monks independent and looking for new ways to make a living. Restoration was it. So, now, this episode, I was reading off my notes. I was reading off a script that I made up. And the whole episode was basically me talking about it, but also reading off a script that I made up. But yeah, sorry for pronouncing that wrong, guys. I know there's a few Americans listening to this. I'm very sorry about that. By Evan Williams. Now, I've actually heard of that whiskey. It's a very, I honestly don't think it would be classed as a whiskey, because being in America, I dare say it would be probably classed as a bourbon. But in any case, it's still. And I did get a little bit of hate for this. We'll definitely give you that. But you got to remember, if it's been made in America, if it's been made in Kentucky, it is classed as a bourbon because they use more corn than barley than wheat and all the rest of it. So anyway, that's just the way it is. But anyway, I was talking about even more stuff when I was talking about our ghost reel and what I've seen and heard. Now, this one was a creepy episode. Now, this was the other thing about getting my podcast equipment, especially because I first started out with a Zoom. Excuse me. It was like I think it was a H6, Zoom H6 I was recording on. And basically it was just me with what's it called? What's that bloody music shit I was making? Cubase. I got Cubase with it, and I was just making all these different sounds and all this type of stuff. So the music that you're about to hear now is actually what I actually made. So this is the one I made, or this is the episode I've done. A ghost reel. I'll talk about what I've seen and what I've heard. This is actually the episode that I'd done my own music with. Everything was like all my music I'd done, except for the music I've done now, which is with Pod 5. All other intro music that I've made, I done it myself. This is what this podcast is all about, the theme music from Most Haunted. And hearing and watching what they done on that show was unreal. Now, one experience I've actually had in my lifetime, well, the earliest one I've ever had was, was feeling the presence when I graduated from primary school. Now, my two grandfathers have died in 1999. Now, blah, blah, blah. But here's the thing, right? You ever feel something? You know, it was like a cold breeze going behind me. And it was one of those things, right, where you can feel chills down your spine. It's like, ooh, like there's someone there. Ooh. But then I felt something. Actually, I felt two things, actually. I felt one hand on my left shoulder, and the other hand patting my shoulder, then holding it, like grabbing it. Not hard, but just not nice, you know? And then I move on to talking about I reckon it was my two pops there. I was talking about, later on that time, I was talking about me at Tasmania. It's not, that was during the day. It wasn't just at night time, that was during the day. Is what happened to me. Now, with this story, this is one of those things where... What was this the one? The other one? It was late at night. It was about 3 o'clock in the morning. This is the one in the hospital. Yeah, about 3:30 in the morning. It was pretty fucking late. Now, I had to go to a hospital to see someone because their baby was a pretty close family member. We had to go to a hospital, and I was going to say, I'll stay here with you, make sure everything's all right. And she said, don't worry about it, it's all good. And all of a sudden, this was at 3:30 in the morning. Everything was shut. Doors. Now, if you guys know anything about anything when it comes to the supernatural, there is one thing that they've always said between, I think it's 2 and 5 or 3 and 6 or whatever, is the particular time where the spirits and that come up. and that's where you'll see most hauntings, apparently. That's what I've heard. But yeah, anyway. The shut, doors were locked, most of the lights were out, only for the essential lights, only the essential parts of the hospital were actually still open and still lit. Now I actually went this other way, and it looked like an old bit of the hospital. I don't know how the fuck I got there, but I got there. Anyway, it was a very, 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 very creepy area. So anyway, I went there and all the rest of the shit, and again, I bloody felt this chill. This real chill. This was no good chill. This was a real bad chill. You know what I mean? It was. So anyway, it was shocking. I looked around. I turned around and I had a look, and all I could see was this bit of a figure out in the distance, right? Now this figure was probably about my height, about 6'7", something like that, 6'4", around there. Now, but then at the same time, as this figure was coming towards me, it was getting smaller to about the size of a 5'11", 6 foot woman. Now, do you know the old-fashioned nurses? You know, the ones with the top hat type things and with the white dresses and that? Yeah, well, I seen one of them. And all of a sudden, she had like a normal face on it, but then all of a sudden, she had this real bad look on it. And she said, "Get out of here. You're not welcome here in this part. This is not the part of the hospital. This is a private part." Yeah, no, that bit there, that was, when it came to the story of that one, yeah, she was carrying on at me, like, she was just yelling and screaming at me, like, get out, and she was, like, being like those old nurses. Those real proper spoken ones, and no, you're not supposed to be in here, get out now. Like, she's one of those type of nurses, and it was scary, mate. It was fucking scary. And it was like screaming it. Scared the fuck out of me, guys, I'm telling you. It really scared the fuck out of me. So, with that, I had to get the fuck out of there. I think if I was going to bloody jump out of a fucking window, I bloody would have been, I'm telling you right now. But that was one episode that I'd done about scary stuff. But make sure you guys go and listen to that. And Ghost Real, and I talk about what I've seen and what I've heard. That's the episode you got to look out for. Now, when it comes to episodes, I done everything. I done history, talked about my gaming exploits and that type of stuff. That I started out with, and me and my mate, we started talking about gaming. I talked about mental health. I talked about everything, mate. That was the whole thing. I got on the podcasting because I wanted to talk. I got on the podcasting because I wanted to make sure that I got my point across, what I wanted to talk about. And the whole thing was, guys, is that I love doing podcasts. Love doing it. The only thing is that I just ran out of things to say. And that's why it's so good to have what I've got now, or what I'm going to have very shortly. And that is with Psycho Bush Talk. We are going to be talking about all sorts of shit, mate. That's what I said to you. We are going to be talking about all sorts of shit. But these episodes that I've just been telling you about are still going to be on the same page. But they're just going to be under the Psycho Bush Talk. So make sure you listen to it, eh? And make sure you keep listening to the old episodes. Because they are good episodes. They're great episodes, what I've done. But yeah, it's great stuff, mate. It really is. And thanks for everyone who's been listening to my podcast. Thanks for everyone who has been taking the time out of their days or their nights or out of their lives and listening to me talk. And I hope that I haven't been too boring for you. There has been some amazing stories I've had on here. Like, I've had my family on here. I've had good mates on here. I've had a lot of people on here. It's only going to get better. And that's the whole thing, mate. That's literally the whole thing. It's going to get better. So when it comes to it, guys, thank you very much for joining me today. It's been one hell of an adventure with this having the yak. But don't worry, guys. I'll be back. I will be back. As simple as that. I'm just going to have a mate with me. And we're going to have one hell of a time with this show. And it's going to be one of those things, mate. It's going to be one of those things where it's going to be fucking incredible. It's going to be fun, energetic. There's going to be some very interesting conversations, put it that fucking way. But she's going to be fucking great stuff, mate. But to everyone who's listening there to me right now, who will listen to Having a Yak, thank you. But don't you go bloody anywhere, because Psycho Bush Talk is coming up. Hope you can join me for that. Or join us for that. I'll see you then. All right, guys.